What up? What up, my guys? Welcome to another show, man. We got to get this show started off right with all the energy, man. I'm so happy to do today's show, man. It's Wednesday. We have our guy Ralph Michaels on the show, man. We got a new promo code for him as well. The Pen, man. This guy is an absolute legend. Ralph, let the people know who you are, how long you've been doing this for, what you got going over there at Wage Talk as well, my guy.
I enjoy the hell out of watching your intros with you and Steve. I have zero rhythm, so you're not getting any of that from me. But hey, I am so happy to do this first show with you. It was a blast meeting you for the first time in Vegas a couple weeks ago, and looking forward to do so much more, Jay. Awesome show, awesome personality. Glad to have you connected with Wager Talk. I got into this business 30 some years ago, and for those football fans, I started actually with Phil Steele Publications and North Coast Sports. We did a football newsletter called Power Sweep. So that's how I started it in the business. My good friend Brian Leonard's the one who got me into it. He lived in Cleveland. We were roommates for a while. And then I started specializing in college basketball. And hey, it's turned out to be a great 30 plus years in this industry, and so happy to be partnered with Wager Talk.
Yeah, me as well. Me as well. And that was a nice play by you as well yesterday with that Texas A&M. They had fired that $2 Tuesday play as well. So nice calling it. And the Pistons as well, fading the Nets yesterday. And guys, if you don't know, Ralph Michaels is the guy. He's an absolute legend, man. Vegas legend. Been doing this for a while, like you said, over 25 years. And we do have a new promo code as well. So that J19 has expired, but this is Ralph's first time on the show. So you can get a 3-day all access pass. Use promo code R19. We'll also go over that at the end of the show, guys. Everybody, you guys know it's all business here. Let's get down to business, man. First game up, we're going to the streets of Indiana here, Ralph. We got the Pacers here getting 9.5 points versus the Nuggets. The Nuggets have been absolutely hot, man. They're 9-2 ATS, their last 11 road games, Ralph. They've been a really good road team this year. They're also 5-2 ATS against the spread, last 7 in Indiana as well. The Pacers are tanking. They don't even have their coach, Rick Carlisle, in this game as well. So this is a pretty easy one. I'm not looking towards back in the Pacers pretty much for the rest of the season. You like anything here? Maybe an over spot?
Well, you would think the over. You look at Denver. They're allowing 52.5% shooting their last 5 games. You look at the Pacers, 53.8%. How many times can you look at an NBA team over a 5-game stretch and they've allowed 54%? But when you look at the teams in this role with this high of a total, Denver has been in this role many times. They've gone 12-3 against the spread with a total of 230 or higher, but the Pacers have only gone 1-5 against the spread with a total of 230 or higher. And I guess when you say the Pacers are tanking, 1-6 against the spread their last 7, and their win is against that minor league team, Portland Trailblazers, or that NBA team, the Portland Trailblazers. So when you played 7 games and your only cover is against Portland, certainly not a team you're going to fade. Because Indiana's been in that role where this is at a usually high total, I'll lean with Denver, but I'm not a big fan of the over with this high of a number and the Pacers in that position.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's a tough game for me. And I'm glad you bring in the total looks as well, Ralph. I know you have those really good systems. It's a damn good look there. For me here, I'd like to find some type of way to hop on the Nuggets here, guys. I don't think they hadn't been overlooking teams with the Pacers. They don't really have a real center out there as well. So a bunch of easy. Obviously, Jokic is an absolute nightmare for anyone, but especially for this Pacers team that doesn't have a true center or power forward. So maybe Halliburton go off in this one, but other than that, Nuggets should definitely run away with this one. Probably going to be early and often. So you guys know me, not looking towards taking these tanking teams ever. Nuggets or nothing for me early and often. Let's go over here to the streets of Cleveland here, where Ralph just told me he lived for a while. We got the Cavs here getting 2 points versus my Mavs. You got the Mavs versus the Cavs here. I had a feeling that we would probably rest someone coming off that back-to-back blowout win versus the Lakers last night on national TV. We are trying to win every single game, but this is just a very uninspiring game. We know there's no Mobley, still no Allen for the Cavs as well, Ralph. How are you looking at this game?
Garland talks confident, and after that Chicago loss, which was a very important loss for them, dropping them into that play-in game in a more solid role, he talked about how they still had a team meeting, and I like playing teams in that role. Now, they didn't cover against Orlando, but is that a shock? Hell no. This very young Cleveland Cavaliers team plays to the level of their competition. Against winning teams, the Cavs are 22-12 against the spread. Against teams that are 500 or losing teams, they're only 15-21. Now, again, the Cavs have lost 5 straight against the spread. Dallas clearly playing better, but here's the reason I'm not playing the Mavericks. I look at situations in the NBA, and a situation that people always love to play against were NBA teams on back-to-back days. How many times do you read a capper saying, oh, this NBA team's on back-to-back days, I want to fade them? Well, I'm here to break a myth. Prior to this season, if you looked at the NBA games the last 5 years, teams that were playing back-to-back with no rest actually covered 51.2%. But this year's different. Remember, we have extended rosters. We have teams in protocol for COVID. We have many fewer lineup integrity changes in the lineups. This year, teams playing in the second of back-to-back against a rested foe, 136 and 139, only 44% against the spread. So off that Lakers home game, traveling to Cleveland, I am not going to play the Dallas Mavericks, who look good on paper, because of that situation.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. The Mavs are my team, guys, and I'm not backing them here. It is Mavs or nothing for me. The Cavs have really started to, without Allen, the Cavs are not the same team that they were earlier this year, and the odds makers are finally starting to catch up with it. And like I said, Mobley went out in the last game as well. They were blowing out the Magic. Soon as Mobley went out, things changed really quick. And also the minutes without Garland on the floor are absolutely terrible. It's like minus 30 net rating. So Garland's going to have to play the whole game. Garland and LeVert would be the path to success for the Cavs here. Those would be the two that need to go off. So like I said, they don't have that same rim protection. The Mavs, I'm worrying about us resting even more guys. We know that Dinwiddie's out, but I would say if Luka and Brunson and the rest of the guys play, man, the Mavs are playing to win every game right now, trying to move up as high as they can in the standings. So even with Dinwiddie out and it being a back-to-back and not necessarily a short travel going from Dallas up to Cleveland, it's still Mavs are nothing for me. I know the Cavs have something to play for as well, but they're just not the same team as they were early in the season when they were smashing everybody and covering every single spread. So Mavs are nothing for me in that game. Let's go over here to the streets of Washington, D.C. here. We have the Wizards here, land 3 versus the Magic, man. This is a tough game for me here, Ralph, I must say. Would you like something in this one?
Well, you look at the Wizards and you say, oh my God, only 3 wins in the last 10 or 11 games. And you look how bad they've played. But this is where you really need to break down the schedule. In Washington's last 11 games, they played 8 road games. They only played a home game on March the 6th, 1 game home on March the 16th, and then they played Golden State and Chicago. So we finally have some continuity, playing a 3rd straight home game and off a loss. And you look at this Orlando team, averaging 42.2% on offense their last 5 games. We've really seen them struggle offensively. Defensive side of the ball, though, this Magic finally playing some D, allowing 41.2%. I'm going to look at the under here. I think Washington's defense is playing well enough. I know Orlando's defense is playing enough, and we're getting some value with the under in this play in my book.
Yeah, that's a good point. My guy Eric Jones in the chat saying the same thing. He said Wiz can't score, man. With the Magic, they struggle to score as well. They do pay attention to the defensive end. We know they have a defensive-minded coach in Mobley over there. So I would not talk you out of the under in this game. Both teams struggle offensively and try to play some defense. I like that. I like that under spot there, Ralph. And the chat likes it as well. Let's go over here to the streets of New York real quick, man. We got the Hornets laying 3 versus the Knicks, guys. This is a game that I like. You got the Hornets here. The last time we were on the Hornets, Ralph, I took them they were at home versus the Knicks. The line opened up at 7.5, went all the way up to 10. It didn't matter. They basically just overlooked the Knicks. Knicks came out there and smacked them in the mouth. Now I think the Hornets know, okay, now we can't be messing around with these Knicks because they had already beat them 2 prior times this season. So I kind of feel like they just overlooked them, thought the game was going to be easy. The Knicks were on a back-to-back, and they came out there and smacked them. Now you get the Hornets in the revenge spot now after losing that game 106-121 at the house March 23rd. They're coming off a loss to the Nuggets as well, where they could have got blown out, but showed that they really really are trying to go for every win right now. They're 4-0 ATS, last four is a road fave. They're fighting for that playoff spot, sitting right now in the 9th seed. So they have a ton to play for. 6-2 ATS last 8 meetings versus the Knicks. You have Randall, some reports coming out that he's disinterested in the team, and you can kind of tell he's playing uninspired as well. Some inner turmoil there. Fournier may play, he may or may not play. I don't care. I like the Hornets here by double digits. Buzz City today, Ralph. Could you talk me off the Hornets?
Yeah, no need to. Play the Hornets off a loss. You look at their 7-game stretch from March the 11th to the 27th. They go to New Orleans, they win. They go to OKC, 2 games you should win. You beat Atlanta, great win. You beat Dallas, a great win. Then what happens? I'm going to steal a line from yesterday's guest, Marco. And they were fat and sassy, 5 straight wins. That New York game you mentioned, you lose by 15. What do? They bounce back and take care of Utah as a 4-point dog, and then go to Brooklyn and take care of business. That was my underdog game of the week last week in the NBA. Now you're coming off a loss. You mentioned those four wins as an away favorite. And one thing I want to point out for those that are handicapping, and Jay, you know this, and I harp on this. When you look at a 4-0 or 5-0 ATS record, there are different levels of strength. If you're 4-0 against the spread and you covered by 1 point, 1 point, 2 points, and 1 point, you are basically having won or covered 4 straight toss-up games. There's a lot of variables involved. But when you look at Charlotte, their last 4 as an away favorite, they covered by 16, by 6, by 19, and by 25. That's a very powerful 4-0, having covered by 16.5 points per game. Those are the kind of teams I want to be on. Charlotte off a loss, New York off an upset win against Chicago. How are the Hornets tonight?
Yeah, I'm glad you agree with it as well, man. Buzz City for me tonight. I think these guys, and LaMelo Ball likes to go. We know that this is the mecca up there, Madison Square Garden. I think Rozier and LaMelo Ball are going to show out tonight. Guys like Miles Bridges as well. They like playing in front of that tough crowd. LaMelo loves going there, man. They just like playing New York. You see what they did versus the Nets. Give me the Hornets here, -3, my guys. Top play of the day. You dig it? Let's go over here to the streets of Toronto real quick, man. My guy Friday, Frenzy Sports going to this game, man. I hope you have all this fun. But you got the Raptors here. They're laying 3 versus the Wolves, man. And I love my guy Friday, man, but I lean the Wolves here. I was really close to taking the Wolves. You do find a revenge spot here. They lost without Van Fleet. This was February 16th. They lost 91-103. Russell only had 8 points. Anthony Edwards was held to 6 points in that one. So 2 of their 3 best players were held to 14 points combined. Definitely don't see that happen again. 6-0-1 against the spread last 7. Planned on 2 days rest. So they are rested. They're coming off a loss as well, a blowout loss. They're 8-1 against the spread, Ralph, from the last 9 games, coming off a loss of 10 or more points. 5-2 against the spread last 7 in Toronto. Raps coming off that big overtime win versus the Celtics, which they had to struggle as well. And another little keynote, Siakam just went on NBA TV yesterday. Maybe a little bit fat and sassy after getting the big head, getting all the pats on the back, telling him how good he is and should be all-star. Be all NBA team here. So I lean the Wolves. I was this close to taking them, Ralph. I hadn't taken it yet, but I do think that the Wolves could get this job done, at the very least, keep it within this point spread. You like anything in this one?
The Wolves have been a play-on team for me, but unfortunately, much of the value is gone. We're looking about a Toronto team that was a 2-point favorite when they visited Minnesota back on February the 16th. Now you're basically laying that same spread at home. To me, that's enough value loss to not play the team. 2 of the hottest ATS teams, as you mentioned, Minnesota 14-3 their last 17 games. Toronto 7-3 against the spread. And how many times in the NBA do we find a situation where both teams are off the same opponent? You mentioned Minnesota lost at Boston 134-112. Toronto then hosted Boston the next night, beat them in overtime. I love the situation because Toronto is off a physical game against Cleveland, a blowout against Indiana. They're off Minnesota, and they played at Chicago and Philadelphia the 2 games prior to that, playing 4 of 5 playoff opponents in that type of stretch. and now off an upset overtime win in Minnesota. I love the situation for Minnesota, but the lost line value from one game to the next is keeping me off of this one.
Yeah, that's a good point there. It's definitely a tough game, guys. And just a little bit inside info, I think Van Fleet he's struggling hard, guys. I mean, watching him, looks like that knee is really starting to bother him. So he is in this time around. But I'm looking, and the Raptors bench they don't really have a deep team. So it's basically their starting five have to really jump out on teams. They are a physical team. The Timberwolves aren't the same on the road, and they do struggle versus physical teams. But I just have a feeling that they have enough offense in this one. And with guys like Naz Reid and Noel coming off the bench, that they have enough bench play. They definitely have the better punch off the bench, if you ask me. So it's Wolves or nothing for me here. Y'all know I'm raised by Wolves, not the same team on the road, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see the Wolves come out here very motivated. And I do think they're pissed off coming off that Celtics loss as well. The Raptors had a little bit easy. They had no Brown, no Tatum, and Robert Williams was out there. And so the Wolves had to deal with all of those guys and got blown out. I do think they come to play here with 2 days off of rest and that blowout loss. So heavy lean to the Wolves there. I might end up sprinkling on that one, man. Let's go over here to the streets of Boston since we're talking about them, right? This team has been red hot. This line opened up at 4.5, 5. Now it's up to 5.5. We know the Heat had went on a slide there where they were kind of tanking. Who knows? But did seem to actually try to play play for real, right? Because Ralph, it didn't look like they were playing for real for a second there. Had lost 4 in a row to teams like the Knicks, where they were up 17 and ended up losing that game outright. You have the Celtics. They're 5-0 against the spread, last 5 following a loss, 2-0 straight up and ATS this season versus the Heat. Do you think they keep it going, or you think that the Heat get some double revenge here?
Well, it looks easy, right? Miami 1-7 ATS their last 8. Boston 6-1 ATS their last 6. Their last 7. To me, it seems, oh my God, Boston's playing like they need to win. And then look, you mentioned who Boston played without in that loss to Toronto. Well, guess what? Tatum now upgraded to probable. Jaylen Brown upgraded to probable. Horford upgraded to probable. You put those 3 in the lineup, and all of a sudden you have a different team. Here's the reason I'm not playing them. We mentioned that Boston was off that situation. They're coming off a Toronto game, 1-day rest. Miami 14-5 as a dog. And there's certain teams that I look at. When I look at the Miami team, they learn to keep games close. They're only allowing 44.3% on the road. Anytime you're going to hold your foes to 44.3 and you're an underdog getting teams in this role, and you're a team that was on a horrible stretch and finally straightened it out against Sacramento, sometimes going on the road is a good thing. Miami lost as a 10-point favorite to Golden State. You lose as an 8.5-point favorite to New York. And then you lose to Brooklyn. Those are embarrassing home losses. You righted the ship against Sacramento, and this is a situation where I think Miami getting out of town, looking up and playing a quality team in Boston can rally them and get them together. Lower scoring game for me, and very rarely will I fade Miami as an underdog.
Yeah, that's a good point. Definitely. I think the Heat are one of the best teams in the East over there as well. So, and the Celtics defense is a lot different. We know that Robert Williams is going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks with that meniscus tear. The defense is a lot different with them out there. My problem is the Celtics offense is really, really clicking right now. I'm talking about, you can tell that it's clicking even when Brown and Tatum are out and they're still moving the ball like that. Guys like Derek White is a really intricate part of this team. If you ask me, that was a really good trade by them because he can step in and be a mini Brown or Tatum. Still guys like Marcus Smart as well. So the Heat are the deeper team. They're catching points. It's a tough game for me here, but definitely wouldn't talk you out of the Heat as an underdog in this one. And maybe the Celtics land a few too many points here as well. Let's go over here to the streets of Houston, man. We got the Rockets here as 3-point underdogs. You got the Kings, man. They're laying 3 on the road, Ralph. Like, my guys, I'd rather talk about some shirts, man. Ralph. What are we doing, man? The Rockets are they a feisty home underdog here? Who wants to win this game?
Okay, let me just say this. You sort of said you'd rather talk about shirts. Well, let's see. I have a gray shirt on, so I agree with you. Am I going to play Sacramento as an away favorite without Fox? No. Am I going to play Houston only getting 3? No. Next game for me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. In all honesty, guys, I was really close to taking the Kings here. I don't think I think we do find a situation where the Rockets don't want to win games. It's simple. Whether it may be some backroom conversations, but you see them resting Gordon, Wood, and they've shut down Schroeder for the rest of the season. Schroeder, you're playing too good. You got to get out of here. It's basically they're not injured. It's like, no, don't play. You're playing too well. You're giving us a chance to win. So we want you to sit out. Look at what the Thunder and the Blazers are doing, guys. So it's the hell no Rockets for me. I won't go even close to backing this team. The Kings, they had just won two of their last 3 games before that. They won 2 in a row before that the Heat blowout loss. So at least they're still showing they're trying to build something towards next year. Obviously, they set Fox and Sabonis for the rest of the year, but it's Kings or nothing for me. I'm not looking towards backing the Rockets. I think the Kings may at least still want to win this game, whereas the Rockets, I think that if they're up in the fourth quarter, they probably take their guys out to lose game. I've seen worse things, man. So Kings are nothing for me, and that one's the only way I would play that one. Let's go over here to the streets of OKC. We got the Hawks here laying 12 on the road, man. The Thunder tried their best to tank that game versus the Blazers. Still accidentally won, though, in overtime, got the job done for us. But now they're getting 12 at the house. They'll probably put some players back in this one just to try to make it a little bit competitive. Trae Young going back to Oklahoma. You like anything here?
Well, let's remember this. When OKC is playing a non-division foe, teams don't care about covering against OKC, and they're 19-8 against the spread. That's one of the best numbers in the NBA. When OKC is playing a division foe, it's a much different situation. Obviously, now we have an Atlanta Hawks team laying double digits. If you look at the NBA this year, and you blindly played every double-digit dog, I'm going to my database for this, you've won 100 games, you've lost 77, so you've covered 56.5%. You're not going to get rich, but when double-digit dogs are a 57% situation on the season, that's something you always have to take into consideration. And then let's look at the Hawks as an away favorite. Their average line as an away favorite is -5.5. They are only 7-6 straight up, 1 game over 500, 5-8 against the spread, and only 2 of 13 times as an away favorite have they won by 10 points or more. OKC, by the way, 7 straight covers, and this is a situation where I have no interest in Atlanta. I almost have enough power to play OKC. I just can't get there because they're off a win. They're off a straight-up win against Portland. It was a rare situation where they weren't away favorite. They haven't been good off a straight-up win. So had they lost to Portland, this is likely a spot I would have backed OKC. I clearly lean with them, but I'm not getting to the window in this situation.
Yeah, and the Thunder do they like their role as well, the home dog. I'll tell you, I would like to be on the Hawks here. It's too many points for me to lay with them on the road, and they don't play enough defense for me, man. This Hawks team last year, that's what they really hung their hat on, and they have good defenders as well, guys like DeAndre Hunter and Clint Capella. But this team, I don't know what Nate McMillan has done. He used to be a defensive coach. It's almost like he was like, all right, save your defense for the playoffs or something. So they're laying 12 on the road like they play defense or something. I can't do it. It's still Hawks or nothing for me, but very uninspiring game, man. Let's get over here to the streets of San Antonio real quick, man. We got the Spurs versus the Grizzlies here, Ralph. And earlier, I'll be honest, I took the Grizzlies. I'm going to break you guys down with some info, man. I took the Grizzlies earlier this year in San Antonio, and it was a sweat. I'll be honest. I believe they were laying 4.5 or 5 points, and I really had to sweat the game out. They ended up winning about 8. But the Spurs played them close. You see what I'm saying? Who needs this game more? It's the Spurs. The Grizzlies do have a bigger game on deck. This is a triple revenge spot. They've lost all 3 meetings already this year. 2 in Memphis, 1 at the house. That one at the house, they lost 110 to 118, January 26th. Ja Morant had 41 points that game. The first game that they lost, Ja Morant had 30 points. The third game, the most recent one, he had 52 points. He's been carving this Spurs team up. Now, I know that they can still ball without him, but Ralph, I'm really close to taking the Spurs. They need every game right now to stay in that play-in tournament. They're playing some of their best basketball of the season right now. Kind of foul step with Landale coming in there, kind of with a too big lineup. I want to take the Spurs here. I think I'm going to sprinkle on the Spurs. Everyone loves the Grizzlies, and I understand it. They're juggernauts, but this is a spot where I think the Spurs are playing hard. They want this game more. I think they can win this game outright, Ralph.
Well, let's mention this. You lose Jay Morant, and what do? You win 5 straight games. Your offense averages 122 points per game. You've scored 122 points in each 5 games. What the hell? No team has impressed me more than the Grizzlies losing Morant on March 18th. With that said, you are off Milwaukee. You then Golden State. And who do you have on deck? Phoenix at home, at Utah, at Denver. That's an incredibly tough situation. But I will notice this. Without Morant, they have averaged 122 points, 5-0 straight up, but I really like what their offense has done. The Spurs only 1-5 over under their last games. But you look at what they were. They were at Golden State, they were at Portland, they were at New Orleans. All 3 of those games went under, with the defense only allowing 108, 96, and 103. Well, that defense isn't going to hold Memphis to this number. I actually like the over in this game. I think Memphis does have to keep the pace up. And one thing I want to mention here, Jay, San Antonio has 7 games left. Now, you said they need to win. Yes, 7 games out, they started to need to look to win. When we start getting to the last 2, 3, and 4 games and teams need to win, those are normally times I start looking to fade those teams. When teams have pressure to win and the Vegas line gets adjusted, more often than not, I'm going to fade those teams in that role.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point there, man. I think that when they start to play their best basketball, though, that is one of them that I won't look to fade, and that's what I look at with the Spurs today. So I'll be honest with you. Usually, triple revenge spot, I'm always going to be looking towards the triple revenge or nothing, or I'm staying off the game. It's very possible to beat a team 4 straight times in a season. It's very possible, but usually I tend to like, especially when you're the Grizzlies, and this game is like, this is kind of an uninspiring game for the Grizzlies. We're getting up to play the Spurs. They get up to play every game, but like you said, this is like sandwich in between a lot bigger games as well. They're in the playoffs for sure. I just feel like the Spurs are really starting to play some better basketball right now, and they're catching the Grizzlies without Ja Morant. I know they've been juggernauts without him, but he's diced the Spurs up every single time here. So I kind of like the Spurs. Spurs, the only way that I could look at this one, heavy lean. I may end up sprinkling. If I had a third top or second top play, it would be the Spurs here taking the points. I see them winning this game outright. Upset special of the day. Let's get over here. We got 2 more games. We're going to the streets of Portland here, man. Blazers versus Pelicans. They're laying a boatload on the road. Now, CJ McCollum is going back home, but a key note to that, guys, I'm reading into it. McCollum he has a lot to do when he gets back home. He has a newborn baby. He's seeing his wife for the first time in a while. He has to take care of some business stuff too. So kind of a lot of distractions for McCollum, but I still think they come to ball out here. I'm not laying all of these points though. I'm not taking the Blazers, Ralph. What are we doing here?
Jay, I want to jump back to the last game for 1 second.
Okay.
You called your upset special on San Antonio plus 5.5. In the NBA, how likely in lieu of taking the 5.5, are you going to take plus 180 on the money line with the Spurs? Are you a money line type of guy with that range when you think there's an upset? Do you split your bet, or are you just going to take the 5.5 and try to get the W?
I'll be honest. I'll be perfectly honest with you, Ralph. I usually always take the points just to be safe. I know that value-wise, I should be taking the money line if I feel like they win, but there's just too many times where the game could come down to it with a couple of points. And I just rather, I always say it when I started betting, if you're giving me points and I like the game, I'm going to take them every single time. Even if I think they win the game outright, I'm taking the points.
One note I want to mention to that, Jay, I'm with you to a large degree. There's a lot of times I'll split my bet. But I am much more apt in the playoffs because you're not trying to handicap motivation and you're not trying to take a team that's just happy with the win. When you find those dogs in the playoffs in the role that you like this, I do suggest sprinkling some on the money line as well.
That's a good point, Ralph. It's definitely a good point.
Back to this New Orleans game, and sorry to jump in and go back. It's simple for me. I am not betting Portland. Betting Portland is like betting the Nets as a home favorite. You've got to be an idiot to do it. And forgive me if you've done it and you lost money, but I'm not going to bet New Orleans as a 12-point favorite. They've been an away favorite 5 times. The largest spread this year, -6. Their largest win as an away favorite, 13 points. I will mention this, though. when New Orleans is an away favorite, they are 5-0 to the over. So they do play offense when they are the better team, and they have played teams in that role. So to me, I would only bet New Orleans. No way in the world am I laying double digits with them, but I will lean with the over just because what they've showed me so far this year, laying points away from home.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Yeah, the Pelicans should smash these guys by 30, man. They should. Like the Blazers, this is a G League team out here, guys. That's why you see the point spread like this. This is an absolute G League team. They have maybe a couple of NBA caliber players over there that could possibly keep them close. It's too many points for me to lay on, especially on the road with the Pelicans, but that would be the only way that I could look in this game. Last game up. Let's go over here to the streets of Golden State. We got the Warriors here. First game back at the house after a little road trip. A terrible road trip. The Warriors are really starting to go into the wrong direction right now. Obviously, they don't have Curry. You do find a double revenge spot for the Suns. They did clinch the West, but these are the type of games, the few games that the Suns will take serious over the course of the remainder of the regular season. It's Suns or nothing for me here. I actually like the Suns here minus the 4.5. I'm pretty sure I have some on this in the late game. The Warriors have shown they could play them tough this year, but without Curry and with them being in bad form, not a big fan of their coach. Suns should come in here and take care of business, Ralph.
Well, the Suns opened 6.5 last night. I liked them. I didn't bet them. I said I'm going to wait. Wake up now and they're laying 4.5. Bonus for me. Clear situation. The Suns, the last 10 games, averaging number one in the NBA, 126 points. Offensive efficiency for the Suns, the last 10 games, number 2 in the NBA. Defensive efficiency, number 1 in the NBA. You look at Golden State, 1-6 their last 7 games. And that win against Miami, they did have a nice game there. They're 3-9 straight up in ATS with Curry. And the Suns lost on Christmas Day, an embarrassing loss. Phoenix now 13-1 against the spread, revenging a loss against their opponent in the next game. Strong numbers have me on Phoenix. It is a game I bet. The only thing keeping it stronger for me is after this Golden State game, they go and play Memphis. So a tough situation for them schedule-wise, but I don't think they look past the Warriors here. Phoenix Suns as a game that I bet.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't think they look past them for the simple. It'd be different if they beat them twice already, but they've lost to the Warriors twice already. So I was kind of thinking, like, do the Warriors do they just match up well against them or something? But I'm surprised the line coming down as well. Definitely Suns or nothing. I like it. I'll ride with you, Ralph. Let's get over here to some free picks, man. It's all the games. As always, got shirts, man. NbaTalkWithJay@gmail. Email me right now if you hadn't got a shirt. It's us against the bookies. NBA Talk with Jay. J Money is money. And also putting another order in for the Smack City shirts, guys. I appreciate everybody for supporting the channel. Let's get to some free picks, man. It's always so not the regular promo code today. You can use promo code R19. Special promo code for Ralph's first time on the show, man, as always. So you can't use J19 anymore, but R19 is special for Ralph Michaels over there, the legend. You can get all access, college basketball, NBA, all the good stuff, man. 3 days all access plays for only $19. Ralph, what you liking today on today's NBA card, and let them know how you're doing over there at Wager Talk.
Well, the first thing I want to mention, since we're talking NBA, if you guys don't follow me on Twitter at CalSportsLV, I do a daily NBA stat sheet, and I put a best bet in that stat sheet, and then I also give you the following 2 days. And the one thing I want to point out, we know the NBA, you are trying to handicap motivation. The best team doesn't always win. When players want to play to their level, like in the playoffs, which I love. So I broke down the NBA into full season, home and away, and the last 2 weeks. And to me, that is the most important stat that I put out anywhere on the stat sheet. The last 2 weeks' performance, it gives you the average line and average score. So you can exactly see how much teams have covered by. We talked about that with some road games, this year. So do check it out. It's free. I put a best bet in there daily. My best bet in there for tonight is Phoenix. As we talked about before, Suns now 6-0, 5-1 ATS the last 2 weeks. Golden State on a 1-6 run, playing without Curry. That is clearly my top play. And the other is my Charlotte game. I will back Charlotte on the road. We talked about margin of victory. So top 2 plays for today, Phoenix and Charlotte from Ralph.
I love it, Ralph. Oh man, I love it. I think we're Ralph is gonna bring the luck to the show. We're cashing, man. I like this Hornet spot, revenge spot. They won't take the Knicks lightly today. Knicks all but they are playing spoiler, but they're all but out of the playoffs. Randall once out of there, man. They're keeping Thibodeau. They don't probably don't want to keep Thibodeau over there. Whatever. Hornets a lot more to play for. A lot better, a lot more exciting team as well. This team will be in the playoffs, man. Hornets -3, my top player today. Honorable mentions, I must say, really close to taking the Wolves +3. I think they can match up well versus the Raptors. They're 8-1 ATS last 9, coming off a blowout loss as well. I'm listening to the post-game interviews. They're pissed off. They're trying to win every single game. Heavy lean to Wolves +3. Also heavy lean to the Spurs as well. Triple revenge spot. First time facing the Grizzlies without Ja Morant, who's carved them up all season here. Spurs definitely need this game more. Should be a motivated team. Their offense is rolling right now. DeJounte Murray, you guys are absolute baller, man. Heavy lean to Spurs and Wolves. Hornets -3. Top player today. Let's cash, man. Make sure you guys go use that promo code right now, R19. Ralph Michaels is the guy. Love having him on the show. Can't wait to have you again. The pen. Bring the pen out, man. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hit the like button, subscribe, and we out, my guys.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate it.